I would like that you should all be smarter, but more than how you could be smarter. We don't know anything about how to improve intelligence, and I suppose we don't really know anything about how to improve industrious either. But I can tell you that people who are industrious come up with a strategy for solving the problem that's ahead of them. If you want to know something about yourself, sit on your bed, one and say to yourself, you got to be this lie, you got to be this right. This is no game, this. What one thing I'm doing wrong? That's not I'm doing wrong. That's good first. That's good first. You mention that you will answer, and it won't be one you want. Maybe the necessary one. In this video, we will learn some of his best kept secrets for maximizing focus and achieving long-term success, so that you can study smarter and not harder. No option tell people to fix the thing you repeat every day. Cause people tend to think of those as trivial, right? You get up, you brush your teeth, and you have your breakfast. You have your routines that you go through every day, where those probably constitute 50% of your life. And people think, well, they and not pay attention to them. And no, that's likely wrong. The things you do every day, those are the most important thing you do. Hands down, all you have to do is Rudy. I made average of 35,000 decisions every day, single day. We can eventually lead to decision fatigue, a style of mental overload that can impede a person's ability to continue making decisions. As psychiatrist Dr. Lisa McLean explained, the more decisions you have to make, more fatigue you develop, and the more difficult it can become. This mental exhaustion can lead to poor choices, procrastination, or even to a tendency to avoid decisions altogether. One effective way to reduce decision fatigue is by simplifying daily routines, such as planning meals in advance, maintaining a consistent wardrobe, or establishing through habit. Additionally, breaking down complex choices into smaller, manageable steps can make decision making feel less overwhelming. Happy individuals can save mental energy for more important tasks. I can tell you that people who are industrious come up with a strategy for solving the problem that's ahead of them, and then do what they can do to stick the strategy. And so, for example, if you sat down today or tomorrow for a couple hours, 3 hours, and you know, go calendar, whatever you happen to use with a strategy for studying and a list of when all your assessment are due and all of them. And when you go to sit down and study, then you won't be in a position where you have to cram for 10 hours a day, helplessly, right before, an important exam. It's a very effective way of studying, by the way. I mean, first of all, people who cram for 10 hours say they're studying for 10 hours, but they really are because I can study for 10 hours. I don't have power of concentration would I'm able to be do that for a period of time. I can measure about 3 hours of intense and lecture activity before I'm already done. Established in functions in human research found that based learning, where study sessions are spread out over time, can be just as effective as math learning. This approach enhances memory retention and recall by encoding information into long-term memory. Research consistently shows that students who spend out their studying perform better on assessment taking weeks later compared to those who cram in relationships by learning getting enough sleep by a crucial role in learning and memory. According to the five sleep foundation, sleep deprivation is the brain ability to create new pathways for recently learned information, making it harder to retain knowledge. And also, the case that if you study and then sleep and then study and then sleep and then study and then sleep and then you spit it out, then you're much more likely to remember. It is much more likely much more likely to remember if you try to recall the material, and so highlighting in the startup thing is not very useful, but reading, closing the book, summarizing what you read without opening the damn book. That's useful. And the reason for that is that you practicing remembering. And that's what you have to practice. If you're practicing memorization, you have to practice remembering. You don't just go over the thing over and over. That will help you with recognition memory, but but it will help you with recall memory. And the best thing you can do is read and write every day. couple hours every day worry about things you find important and see if you can discover what you believe to be true and that will be your operation and it's unbelievably practical. Research published by Jacobson V. Wastad of Brigham Young University explores how reading literary fiction enhances our person's ability to understand others, a skill known as natural mind. This refers to the human capacity to recognize that others have beliefs and desires different from their own. In the study, participants were divided into groups and assigned different reading materials. Afterward, they took a test measuring their ability to perceive others' emotions. The results showed that those who read literary fiction scored significantly higher than those who did not read at all. So what seemed to happen in the story is that they distill. So they will watch people, and then they tell story about what they see, but they leave a lot of the story, everything that's boring, hopefully. And then one more story about exciting things yet sort of integrated, and then maybe a writers along the write something really interesting, more focus such information. And then you say well that's fiction. And then you say well that's not true because it's fiction. But then maybe that's not right. Maybe it's more than true. Because you want the truth. The truth is maintained in reality you enroll over what as matters. What you want is one day distillation. Um interesting experience. And you might think well why this certain? Well then says you don't know. That's the thing that's so cool. When you think about behavior, you tend to think about voluntary behavior, but a motivational state will. This habit are activated depending on the situation or scenario response. Also, for example, when you food reply and you start to think about food and you start to organize your behavior toward food as and to perceive the role that way your body also prepare for food. And so it's useful to think about a motivated style of macro personality. According to an article from Condition Today titled The Scientific Truth Behind Fake It Till You Make It, mental imagery and actual perception say common neural circuits, so they have different firing dynamics. This phenomenon is explained by set laws, which can state that neurons that fire together wire together. In other words, if you do something in association with something else, the two things will react instantly at a neural level. This principle highlights the brain's ability to render neural connection through repetition and association. For example, if one repeatedly visualizes themselves speaking confidently in public, their brain starts to reinforce the same neural pathways used in actual public speaking, potentially improving the real life performance. Even when you just walking to where you want to go, if you successfully walking there, your brain trusts what you're doing. The circles are activated while you're doing it, and if you what you're doing result in the result you desire, then the dopamine flows those little neurons are not activated and make them grow and flourish and so on. As you practice something that's working, the circle that is activated as you are practicing is buffed in dopamine and that's make you stronger and that's furious. It's growth. It's part of positive motion. And so the positive motion move you forward but also encourage you to develop a habit of not practice. And so one of the things I would really will say is don't make a habit but doing things that are good for you. Because you be into what happened, become addicted to something you be a little monster inside you. That role is there, is after once go, despite everything else. Not a good outcome. In order to withstand suffering, let's say your life has to have some meaning. Okay, well, that's mean point of thing is mean that part of the way that you overcome suffering is by making the suffering into something meaningful. And I don't mean that dramatically. I mean it technically you made a mistake. Because you suffering, you learn something about it. You don't make a mistake again. In a study on expressive writing with 258 participants, researchers found that those who encouraged to embrace discomfort favored greater sense of achievement and were more likely to incorporate expressive journaling into their daily life compared to those who were simply Essentially, to focus the task measure negative measurement errors, measurement process is materially motivating when we say measurements are delayed, and discomfort is embedded. This life is suffering idea. It's like why learn something caught you wrong. Who cares? It makes you suffer. You care. So do you know if you are our skilled skill in the world, little action passion, you don't get what you want. If you especially if you choose your body to taste and cry and why this because it's you don't know what you don't what you're doing. So it's time for some negative emotion and they can let you wrong. And that's terrible in some sense because our story about willingness to learn requires pain. Now I don't believe that exactly because people are curious, and to go out and be curious and to learn new things very, very exciting. And so what it seems to be is that there's a way of learning but that's too fast and that hurts you. That's why you cry. But if you get the right just right, just opening up enough novelty so that you can benefit from the possibility that give you dopamine catch fundamentally. You can benefit from the possibility without being overwhelmed by the unexpected element of it. Can you tell when someone is this kind of coolest thing as I'm fine? I'm questioning.